This is Rise. Let's lock in with the goal of changing one life at a time. Yours. Together, let us rise up, inspire, strengthen, and elevate our minds. It's time to rise on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello, my name is Dr. Saren Haran, and welcome to Rise. Today we are going to talk to Oddette Staple-Brown, who is the owner and creative behind the brand Deluxe Candle Company, an eco-friendly, non-toxic, and substantial candle and home fragrance company located in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Oddette holds an undergrad degree in business administration and a graduate degree in human resource management. She has a background in accounting, payroll, and human resources, but her true passion is creating. She started making candles during the pandemic as an outlet and a way to pass the time. Today, Deluxe candles can be found on the shelves of over 18 retail stores across the United States, including REIT. The brand has been featured in various media outlets, including CNBC Prime, WTNH News, Redfin Blog, the Connecticut Examiner, Connecticut Magazine, and most recently, Tabitha Brown, Very Good on Mondays. Oddette's balance her role as a full-time entrepreneur while being a dedicated wife, active member of her church community, and attributes her passion and drive to her late mother. She is here to share her story of becoming a small business owner, her motivation, her drive, and tips that are key despite challenges and steps you too can make to become an owner. Oddette Staple-Brown, welcome to Rise here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Haran.
It is my pleasure. Now, you hold a business administration and human resource management degree. For our college students who may be listening, what advice can you provide for those that may be considering those type of degrees to get?
So an undergrad in business administration is for students who you'd like to go in business, right, but you're not really sure what area you'd like to go in. I'd advise you to go ahead and do your business admin degree. And if you kind of have an idea like, hey, I'd like to maybe go into marketing or accounting, you could do one of those as a minor. And then as you go on in college for your junior 4 years, you can make a decision if you'd want to tie down into going for accounting or you just want to continue to do business administration. For human resources, I did my master's in human resources, and I've always loved working with people. So if that's something that you like to do, you can focus on going and doing your master's in HR.
Amazing. Great. Both great degrees, I believe, and very relevant to today's society. So many jobs out there. Now, I know your passion is creating. How did that come about? And how did you discover that was your passion? Because many people have a hard time finding out, what is my passion?
So I've always been a creative. I've been singing from I was 3, and I realized that once I pick up something to make it, it's something that I catch on to very quickly. Right. So I've always been a creative. And as I mentioned, as was mentioned in my bio, during the pandemic, I went back looking at candle making because I've always wanted to make candles, but then didn't have the time. So during the pandemic, I kind of went back and said, what was something that I always wanted to do, and picked up candle making and kind of caught on pretty quickly as a creative, I guess.
Great. Now, sometimes many people, they never dream of being a business owner. And like you mentioned earlier, this business came by, during the pandemic. And you mentioned that it was because of your creative. For someone who may be listening, who never dreamed of being a business person or starting a business and probably having little challenges, what advice would you want to say to them? Being that you've had your business for some time?
If that's something that you want to do, I would say just do it. But I also, because sometimes we come up with products and we have to make sure that it's needed in the market.
Right.
So one of the things that I've always advised persons, and even in my own business, I've realized that you need to do market research. Sometimes we may start a business and we have to backtrack But market research is essential. You know if your product is needed in the market, and knowing who your customers are. Your product won't be for everyone. So those are two important things. And market research will help you to know who your customers are.
Excellent advice. Now, I know there were different people who encouraged you in terms of, you deciding to make that decision to venture into business with your candle making. Tell us about that.
So my husband, as I'm a hoarder of scents, so I like perfumes and candles, and I was making the candles for myself. He's the one that smelled them burning around our house, and he said, they smell too good not to share. So I started sharing them on Facebook, and my church family and friends started buying them, and they would sell out. They sold out 3 times in a row. And that's when we realized that we had something going on. So my husband has been a great motivator, and my church family, even to date, every time I drop a new scent or a new product, they buy them, and they're not just buying one; they're buying 5.
You're big supporters.
So they're very supported.
Very good. We need that. Now, you've been featured on various platforms, and most recently on Very Good Monday with Tabitha Brown and magazines. How do you feel about that? Are you still growing your brand, for those that may be wondering?
Yes, we're still growing, and all of these media promotions and platforms that we have been promoted on, I see them as a form of advertising, because we're all the way in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And sometimes your social media circle is so small, but being able to go on platforms such as those, like Very Good Mondays, where everyone listens to Tab, everyone loves Tab. So, and it's always on her Facebook page, her Instagram, and it's always on her YouTube. So even people who didn't catch that episode can go back and check on it. So our brand is always out there. So it's meeting a bigger market for each of these.
Which I assume is very important. Now, you mentioned earlier it is important, obviously, to seek knowledge and resources. Share with us how important that is, and what kind of resources do you think are beneficial to those that may be listening and want to build a brand or want to start a business, or who has started a business but maybe don't have the knowledge and not utilizing the resources?
So one of the initial resources that I tapped into, and I know that each state is different, but here in Connecticut, we have the Secretary of State, and they believe in small businesses and have a lot of resources just available right on the website. But as I said, I know that different states are different. So it's just to do your own research and find out, because there are so many different organizations. I know that there's, I think it's Small, I can't remember the name of it, but there are a lot of resources out there that gives you information on how to start your business, all of the permits and licenses that you need for different states and stuff like that. And and that's when you're launching or starting your business. But even when you've decided to grow your business, there are incubator programs that will help you, and accelerator programs. And most of these, all of them, as far as I know, are free. And most of these accelerator and incubator programs, they come tie in with something like a grant. So sometimes you're granted $2,500, $5,000, or $10,000 or more to help you to grow your business.
Now, you believe basic accounting is key. Why do you think that's so important?
As a business owner, when you're just starting out as a small business, you may not be able to afford hiring a bookkeeper right off the bat, or even someone to do your taxes. Maybe you've been doing your taxes by yourself before. Right. But as a small business owner, knowing just the basics in accounting is very, very helpful. And even when you get to a point where you're growing and you're able to afford having an accountant, it's always good to have a basic knowledge of everything that's happening in your business. Someone comes into your office and leaves a paper, you should be able to have a basic understanding of what's on it, and then you can ask them to explain further. But it's always good to have a basic understanding. And they have so many different, right now I use Wave Accounting, and that is free. And they have QuickBooks, and you can just input your information and they do all the hard work for you.
Wow. Good advice. Now, you mentioned that marketing is key, and of course, we know there are other companies that have similar brands to even your own. What are some creative ways that you have utilized to keep your brand on top? As you mentioned earlier, they sell out quickly, so there must be something that you are doing that's keeping your brand alive and people wanting more.
So one of the we do a lot of pop-up events, and a lot of our customers meet us there. And it starts, as I said, on social media, on Facebook, and our church family and friends and persons who have purchased from us. So word of mouth, we use social media, and we meet our customers at our pop-up events. So that helps with our marketing.
Now,
and then to the point of what keeps our customers
right.
coming back, we try to have unique scents.
Great. Okay. Now, those who are starting out, I want you to encourage them because, at times they may feel like, they want to give up. Have you ever had that feeling? And what do you want to say to those individuals that may be listening to us even right now?
Every business is different, and yes, and with the current economy, and I've seen so many large businesses and small businesses, some persons who started out just the same year as me, and we've become friends as we've met them along the way, or some that I haven't even met, and they're closing. But the thing is to remember why you started. Always remember why you started. And everyone's journey is totally different, and they may know why they're closing, and as I said, everyone's journey is different. You have to know why you started and your end goal.
Of course. And probably always remember, what was the thing that pushed you towards that business. You are listening to Rise on the Voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Sharon Heron, and today we're talking to Oddette Staple-Brown, who's the owner, creative behind the brand Eau de Luxe Candle Company, an eco-friendly, non-toxic, and substantial candle and home fragrance company located in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Oddette holds an undergraduate degree in business administration and a graduate degree in human resource management. She has a background in accounting, payroll, and human resources, but her true passion is creating. She started making candles during the pandemic as an outlet and a way to pass the time. Today, Eau de Luxe candles can be found on the shelves of over 18 retail stores across the United States, including REI. The brand has been featured in various media platforms, including CNBC Prime, WTNH News, Redfin Blog, the Connecticut Examiner, Connecticut Magazine, and most recently, Tabitha Brown, Very Good Mondays. Now, Oddette, we've been talking and we talked about marketing, which is very important. But for those of us who may not be able to afford a billboard in Times Square, I know you talked about pop-up shops. How important it is for you to try to find ways to, like you mentioned, put out your brand. What advice can you offer our audience that may be listening?
One of the most important things is having a great product, because your product will speak for itself. And most of the time, your product will speak for itself. And as I said, we do have a lot of customers that keep coming back, and they keep buying our products for their friends, who end up buying their products for themselves and their friends. So it's like a continuous cycle. Right. And social media is very, 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 very important. I know it's hard for some of us to get going on social media. I know a lot of persons have put themselves out there and grown their brand. And that's one of the things that I know that I'm going to outsource as quickly as I can afford to. Right. I'm going to outsource social media, because I'm using it right now, but I don't think I'm using it to its full potential. Right. And I think that social media will be able to help us to grow our business. And it's free. You don't have to tap into all of the paid ads, or sometimes you can try it. But most times what you're doing is just putting yourself out there, posting consistently. What I do whenever I post and someone comments under that post, I comment under that post, and it keeps driving me up in the algorithm. So you have to kind of learn the algorithm for yourself, and whatever works, and keep doing it.
Yes, I agree. Now, we want to talk about support system, because I believe that is very important. And what is your motivation in your drive? So let's talk about that. Your support system that you have, and what is your motivation and drive that keeps you wanting to get up and make your candles and be successful at what you're doing?
So my support system includes my husband. As I said, we wouldn't have Odie Loves Candles without him, because if he didn't encourage me, I wouldn't be doing it. And then my church family, they have been amazing and still are. They are like my top customers, almost every single one of them. And I have friends who I've met like at vendor events, and they're there supporting me. They do different things, and they're always purchasing my candles. I really want to, for my motivation and what keeps me going is I want to create generational wealth. And I think my business, based on the growth path that we are currently on, I think that we'll be able to create wealth even long after I'm gone.
Right. And we want to talk about your drive. I think we mentioned in your bio, you mentioned about your mom being your drive.
Yes, so my drive comes from my mom. We're Jamaicans, and I've always seen my mom. She's always been such a hard worker, but even as being a hard worker, and she'd get home and she would sit down, she'd be there preparing our dinner, making sure that we're okay, helping with homework, and the cycle continued every day. Sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and I'm seeing her. I do almost everything like she does. Sometimes I have to tell myself to sit down because my mom wouldn't rest until she's sleeping. And I picked that up, which is good in some cases and not so good.
Right.
So
you gotta know when to stop.
I don't know when to stop.
Yes. Now we want to talk about business plan. How critical do you believe that if someone having an idea and want to start a business, you believe that they should have a business plan? Talk to us about that.
Yes, I agree. I believe that a business plan is important, even if it's not anything formal right off the bat. Once you have an idea, start writing it down. Like, write down what your product is, write down what the problem that you're trying to solve, write down the solution, which is the product that you're making, write down who's your customer, like your customer persona. You may not know what that means right off the bat, but who's your ideal customer? And then look at how ways that you'll be getting funding. So, and all of that can be translated into a one-page business plan. And then if you need to, then you can expand on it. Because even if you're going into an incubator or an accelerator program, or you're going for a loan, or sometimes even these grants that you're going after, which is that's something that you won't have to pay back. But they'll ask you all of these questions, and they'll also ask for your business plan. So from the jump, always write these things down, and then you can translate it and put it into a business plan.
So our listeners who may be listening and curious about different grants, and as you mentioned, there's so much things online that you could tap into, but talk to us a little bit about a grant. How can one person start to research grant or even start the process going?
So there are a lot of different type of grants all over the internet. I'm in a lot of resource groups. I've taken like certificate programs. So I'm in a eCornell certificate program. And once I finish that, then we're on a Facebook group, and they keep putting all the grants that are available out there. But if you just type in, and even on on our Secretary of State, again, there are resources. So it depends on where you go for your resources. But if you do just search online for grants, you should be able to find. I know that there's Hello Alice. I know that with the accelerator program, there's a Target accelerator program. Tory Burch does an accelerator program. Shade Moisture. There's so many. So once you start searching for accelerator and grant programs, then they'll all pop up, and you can tap into the ones that apply to you.
Great. Now, many people don't think about what we call an exit plan, and I know we've talked about it. So I want you to talk to our small business owners who may have written the business plan. They have everything else, but they never thought about an exit plan. Talk to us about that.
Yes, as I'd mentioned to you, that I didn't even think about an exit plan. It's something that was like somewhere in the back of my brain, because I said to my husband that I've heard persons say, "Oh, what am I going to do at the end of my business?" But I've always thought that I would grow my business forever, and it feels like my baby to me. I don't want to let it go.
Of course.
But I was in an accelerator program the other day and it came up and I'm like, yes, it does make sense to have an exit plan. Your exit plan may include growing your business to a certain level and then selling it.
Right.
And someone else will carry on the work and it's not your work anymore because you sold it. Or your exit plan may be grow your business and leave it for someone else in your family to run, maybe your kids or your sisters or your brothers. So it's always good, even at the beginning of your business, to think about what your exit plan is. Don't be like me and 4 years down the road thinking about it. But yes, think about what your exit plan would be.
I just think it may not be a common topic that many think about. So maybe they'll listen to us and start looking to, some light bulbs. Now, in terms of finances, we want to talk about that because it's important, right? To separate your personal money from your business money earned. Tell us what are some tips that you could offer and how do you try to do that the best way you can?
So yes, that's very important to separate your business funds from your personal funds. How I do that is I make sure that I have a business bank account separate from my personal bank account. And everything that I do with my business is tied to my business account. And everything that I do for my personal is tied to my personal. And this is my full-time business. So I do pay myself, but I'll write myself a check or I'll do a withdrawal
Right.
and then I do the corresponding accounting to say that is for payroll and that's for paying myself. So you have to make the distinction. And even with our companies categorized as an LLC, and if essentially what it means is if something happens and someone sues you, they won't be able to come after you, whatever you own personally. They go after the business. So, and that helps too with having everything separate. So if you have like a lawsuit, they don't hit your personal stuff. They just hit your business.
Wow, good information. Now, you have owned your company for 4 years. That's a long time. Now, speak to us about ongoing training. I know you mentioned a few different things throughout the interview as we've been talking, but speak to our business owners who may be wondering, what training do I need to keep up with? I know you take accelerated programs. Speak to us about what that is and how is it very important for business owners to indulge in such courses?
Yes. We won't know everything. And even with my my undergrad and my graduate degree, there are a lot of things that I have a light bulb moment like, oh, this is what they were talking about while I'm doing my business. But it's always good to keep learning. And one of the things that I love about these accelerated programs, you have mentors, and these are people who have owned businesses and they're doing it and they've helped to grow businesses and they've helped to launch businesses and they've helped with even exit plans. They've helped with they've helped with all different aspects. So all of the questions that you could ever have and that you're wondering, who can I talk to? And I can't afford to get a business advisor. They're there and they're giving up their time freely to you. So I suggest get into those accelerated programs. There's those incubator programs. They're out there. Apply. They're very competitive, but apply and see if you can get into because knowledge is power.
Excellent. So true about that. You are listening to Rise on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Sharon Heron, and today we're talking to Oddette Staple-Brown, who is the owner and creative behind the brand Eau de Luxe Candle Company, which is an eco-friendly, non-toxic. She's located in Bridgeport, Connecticut. She holds an undergraduate degree in business administration, a graduate degree in human resources management. She also has a background in accounting, payroll, and human resources. But her true passion is creating. Today, Eau de Luxe Candle can be found on the shelves over 18 retail stores across the United States, including REI. The brand has been featured in various media outlets: CNBC Prime, WTNH News, Redfin Blog, the Connecticut Examiner, Connecticut Magazine, and most recently Tabitha Brown, Very Good Mondays. She is dedicated, full entrepreneur with dedicated wife, active member of her church community, attributes her passion and drive to her late mother. She is here to share her story of becoming a small business owner, her motivation, her drive, tips that are key despite challenges, and steps you too can make. So that we've been talking, and I would like to know, like, your candles. What are some unique scents that you have, and how do you come up with them? What are some tips that you could offer those individuals? Like, what I know you mentioned that people getting love, but how do you come about getting that unique scent?
Okay, as I've mentioned, I love scents. I love perfumes and candles.
Right.
And I've always realized that most of the scents that I would buy, they're like generic. I could get the same scents almost everywhere. So when I started making candles, I would purchase fragrance oils and like blend them together and see what works. And I'll study fragrance notes and see what fragrance note work with whatever. And then I'll make it, and it worked.
Right.
So one of the most recent favorite is my Not Vanilla.
Oh,
It's
nice.
the name draws people. I was at an event on Saturday. They're like, Not Vanilla. I'm like, what does it smell like? They say, what?
Right.
And I'm like, smell it. They smell it. And I'm like, it doesn't have any vanilla notes, but it smells like vanilla. So that's why I called it Not Vanilla. And
Not
I name
vanilla.
my candles based on whatever I feel in that moment when I'm
Great.
making them. I have one known as Homesick, and it has scent notes of mango, coconut,
Nice.
and mango and coconut milk. And it reminded me of home as soon as I started blending it. So I called it Homesick. And then I tell the story of me coming from Jamaica, and they get all misty eyed and everything.
Now, for those that may be listening as we're getting ready to wrap up our program, how can individuals get your candles?
So we are currently, we're available in 18 stores. You can find the stores on our website, but our website is www.ohdluxecandles.com. And you can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at odeluxecandles.com.
I'm so happy to have had you on this program. I appreciate you taking the time out to come on the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Heron. It was so much fun.
It was my pleasure. And we just want to make sure that, like you gave such great advice, and I hope those that will listen would take all the great advice and run with it. Now, I'm Dr. Sharon Heron. For those considering being a small business owner, you heard from an owner herself that provided meaningful advice that you can utilize. Take the right steps, get registered with your business, seek knowledge, stay motivated, and know you will have challenges and even get encouraged. You even get discouraged at times, but don't stop, rise, and stay motivated. Thank you for listening to this week's edition of Rise, available wherever you listen to podcasts, and always right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
My simple solution to the problem was remove people from the scene and help them feel safer.
In response to attacks against Asian Americans, Maddie Park raised over $250,000 to donate cab rides to the Asian community.
There is so much more work to be done. We really need to come together and tackle this issue as a community.
Support the Asian community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.